Good morning.
Joshua.
Happy Tuesday again.
I forgot to turn the volume down on my phone.
So we made it to another Tuesday. A couple things. I don't want to completely ignore the elephant in the room that there's a lot of...
So good looking.
Oh, Sean.
Sorry, go.
I don't want to completely ignore the elephant in the room that there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. When I say craziness, I just mean things that we're not used to, not our normal. And
Also true.
There's a lot of, you'll see some silence from us as a business and on my personal accounts, and that is by design, because I'm a believer in not talking about things that I don't know about. And when it comes to the racial tension that's going on in the world, it's something that honestly I don't know a lot about. So I'm taking the approach of trying to get educated. And once I'm educated, I may or may not have something more to say about it. But what I will say is I hope you all are leaning more towards love than anything else. I really believe that that is the right answer all the time. And I know that's easy for me to say sitting in my climate controlled room on a Tuesday morning, but that's kind of the approach we're taking, or I'm taking. At least I'm not going to speak for Sean, but when it comes to these things, I don't think we should ignore them. But again, the silence on my end is much more about ignorance than it is about empathy. So very empathetic to what's going on, just ignorant and trying to get more educated. So again, I think it's important for us to not ignore things that are important in the world. And but sometimes when emotions are high, people take silence as lack of empathy, and it's really not in this case. And I just want to be clear about where we are with this. So so in that, knowing that heaviness is going on, I don't want to ignore it, but I also want to be able to have a little fun and have a little kind of side conversation about marketing that may or may not be top of mind for people today. But the reality is, when the world is getting the way that it is, there are still people trying to make money, and they still need to support their families, and they still need to put food on the table. So what we're doing is still important, which is why we decided to continue with the shows this week, regardless of what's happening. Is I know there are business owners out there that have employees that they're trying to pay, and that they have, again, their family that they're trying to feed. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing this stuff. I believe in marketing as a way to put food on people's tables. And so we won't stop with the shows unless we absolutely have to. So that being said, let's talk about something a little lighter. Let's talk about coffee and tea, Sean.
Yeah.
So again, I'm boring. I cannot wait until we can get to green so I can just shop around for coffee. But until then, I'm at 8 o'clock coffee again. And I assume you have chai.
What kind of coffee do you have? 8 o'clock coffee? I don't know what that is.
Have you not? That's what it is, right?
8 o'clock coffee.
Yeah. Have you not been listening to me for the last several weeks? I've drank this so many times. I am completely...
I've ordered some new fun coffee.
I'm completely offended right now. You go, because I can't even...
That like smooth silencer.
This is probably like, go back and watch. You should go back and watch our previous episode, Sean. They're actually somewhat entertaining.
I've been employed by you for like 8 or 9 months now.
Mm-hmm.
Have you not learned that I don't pay attention when you speak?
So, guys, if you look at one of the things we'll be adding to our website is open jobs. You should see something up there in the next couple of days. I sense a job opening coming. I feel like we've had this conversation on here before.
Where can people send their resumes, Joshua?
I don't know. All right, John. So what do you have? What do you have to drink?
Listen, I do not have chai this morning. I have some sort of, I don't know, it's Tiavana. So like Starbucks, whatever. It's some sort of papaya black tea. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
good.
not my favorite, but it's nice when I want something different.
Sure. All right. Cool. So, guys, if you should have been expecting an email from us yesterday, and you will not have gotten that email because we had a little faux pas, no excuses on our end. So we will get that remedied, and you will have your email this week. It just didn't show up in your inbox yesterday morning. So if you would like to get the emails that we're talking about, you can go to ghostcreative.com/live, 1 email a week, summary and some resources from the previous week's shows, and a look ahead to the upcoming shows. So yeah, you will be getting that email soon, today, right, Sean? Today? The email will be coming? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, today. It will be today. All right, so guys, here's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to live critique our own website. We picked ours because for 2 reasons. 1, we don't want anyone else to feel like we're picking on them. And 2, we know that our website has problems. We are the stereotypical contractor whose house is falling down. That is where our website is at the moment. Honestly, we just haven't spent time on it. I think the last time we talked about our website was probably January. And that is embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. So we're going to move along with it. So, but here's
with some context. It's not that we just, like, you had just rebuilt the website too.
Yes.
So it's a pretty new website that we really haven't given much attention to.
Yeah, and so, but the intention of doing this is not to just poke fun at ourselves. The intention of doing this is so that you can see kind of the thought process we use when we're looking at a website, and so you can kind of understand, you know, if you're building your own website or whether you're hiring somebody to do your website, knowing some of the right questions to ask, and at minimum, knowing the right like context and framework to think about your website. And so there are really 2 things at a high level. When we first look at a website, there are 2 things we think about. One of those is we have to know what your brand is, right? Because the website, everything that you do, but the website in particular, in this case, needs to reflect that brand. The problem is if I don't know what your brand is, or you don't know what your brand is, how do you evaluate whether the website reflects that brand? So that's the first thing. And that's what we run into a lot is people say, build me a website. I'm like, I can put your logo on it and I can take some pretty pictures and I can, you know, put some text up there. But when you ask the question, is this right? Well, right means it properly reflects your brand. And so we push hard into figuring out what the actual brand of the business is, because if not, you're building a website against nothing, right? Like you don't know what right and wrong is without the brand. The other thing is what is the action that you want them to take? Do you want a consumer to take when they land on your website? What is the desired outcome? So in an ideal world, a consumer lands on your website. What do you want them to do? And then we look at it in that context as well. So that's more on the function side of it. So there's the branding side of it. What is your brand? Does the website reflect the brand? And on the other side, it is what is the desired outcome, and is it likely that desired outcome is going to be achieved when somebody lands on your site? And so that's really the framework we're looking at. And then overarching, it's does the creative, the images, the text, the videos, do those creative pieces of work really kind of enhance the other 2 pieces? Do they enhance the brand, and do they enhance the probability of the desired outcome? Or is your website designed so that the photography is not that great, the text isn't well written, and so it really doesn't enhance those things but detracts from it? And so that's what we're going to look at in the context of our website. So we're going to dig in here, and what I would encourage you guys to do is, if you have questions about what I'm talking about, if you have questions about your own website, if you have questions about what we're talking about in the moment, whatever, throw them in the chat, and Sean can watch them. Cora's here, she can watch them and interrupt us, and we will stop and address it. But we really want you guys to understand this framework for evaluating websites so you can know for your website what you can do to improve it. Okay, so here we are at the amazing ghostcreative.com. And so the first thing I will say is that, and Sean, feel free to jump in here anytime. So the first thing that I notice if I look at this website, and I'm going to really try to evaluate it from a third-party perspective, what I notice here is a lot of our material has our Ghost Creative.
Hold up. That so I didn't realize this. That looks like I'm super into myself. I'm just like, it's a video of me on my phone looking at myself.
Yes, with no context. We're going to leave that one with no context, so everybody just knows the truth about you, Sean.
That's funny. All right, keep going. Sorry.
One of the things that I noticed right away is we put our logo, the Ghost Creative logo is on a lot of the material that we send out. And when I land on the homepage, I don't see the logo. So if I've seen the Facebook Lives or I've seen the YouTube videos or whatever it might be, and the Ghost Creative logo is all over it, now I land here and I don't see the Ghost Creative logo. Now it does show up in the video in the beginning, but if that video doesn't load properly or I don't see that instance where it shows up, now the logo is not here. So I would encourage the people that run Ghost Creative to put the Ghost Creative logo prominently on their homepage. The other thing I see here is like there's kind of a standard order for menu items, and the About Us is normally never first. So I would recommend that the About Us be moved towards the end because that's typically where you see it. Now, it's not a problem if there's a good reason for doing it, but I happen to know the guy that put this website together, and there wasn't a good reason for putting the About Us in the beginning. So I would recommend that gets moved to the end. The other thing, oh, go ahead.
Can you start by walking through when someone comes to our website, what do we hope? I don't have my answer for that, but I think that will also help people understand why the About Us doesn't make sense first.
Yeah, so I think there's two things that we're trying to do here. Well, let's talk about brand first. So our brand just simply is we're really trying to bring integrity back to marketing. So we want people to be able to trust a marketing company, which is not the case these days. And so that's one of our primary thrusts. Now, I'm not going to go fully into defining our brand, but that's one of the things we really want to push hard on is bringing integrity back to marketing. So that's what I would think about from the brand side. On the what do we want people to do, there's two things. Primarily, we want to build credibility because we don't have a lot of brand awareness, right? Like Ghost Creative, not a lot of people in the world know who Ghost Creative is. So we want to definitely build brand awareness. And then the other thing is we want people to contact us, right? Like that's what I ultimately want people to do is I want them to look at the site, see like, oh yeah, I'm in the market for a new website. I see what they provide, or I'm in the market for some, digital marketing. These guys look like they can do that. I believe that they have integrity. I'm going to contact them. Is that what you wanted, Sean?
Sorry, I was typing. Yes.
Okay. So
Can you take it off the video loop?
no, I'm not taking off the video loop. I want to see you guys over and over and over again. My wife is asking me to take her off the video loop, but we'll get there in a second.
I kind of tuned out a little bit when you were talking. Sorry, I got distracted. But I think one of the big things that we'd like, and sorry if this is a reiteration, we're much more comfortable talking to people like in a conversation. And so one of the big drivers of the website is to get to that conversation, not just like, hey, here's interact with us here, but we really try to drive people to the conversation. And so that's a huge part of what we try to do with our website.
Yeah. So, and you can see, here's another issue with the website. So I was waiting. This is why I was waiting for the end of the video. But the video is reloading once it gets to the end, right? And then it starts over. That's really bad from a creative standpoint where the video goes through and then you have to wait for it to reload and you get this loading circle. So again, I would completely rethink this video if it's not going to load fast enough. So let's the other thing I was going to say that's really strange here is I don't understand why there's a cart icon up here. Like I landed on a company's website that builds websites. I don't understand why I have a cart that's empty. That looks more like an e-commerce store. And so we'll talk about that when we get there. But the video, I would say there's definitely some improvements that could be made on the video, but I like video as headers. The problem is, and I don't have an easy way to show you this right now, but the problem is by default on most mobile devices, videos don't load. And I believe, if I remember properly, that our site, I'm just going to load it here real quick. I don't think it has a default video. So what you get instead is a big black screen at the top of the website where there otherwise would be a video. So again, just bad design, right? So let's scroll down. Now, listen, if you guys have been on many of these Q&As, you'll hear me talk about brand over and over and over and over again. Does this look like, this is the first thing you land on after the header video, does this look like information about our brand? Absolutely not. So we went straight from a video that doesn't really convey what we do. It was actually a clip of a video that we were doing for a little while. It was like a behind the scenes look at Goes Creative. And now it goes directly to what do we have to sell you, right? And so again, I wouldn't recommend laying out a website where the very first thing you do is talk about what you have to sell. If you're in the e-commerce space, it's different. Then you can make that argument. But this, for what we're doing, brand is so critically important. Jumping straight to what we do, I don't think is a great play here. And then, oh, it keeps getting worse, people. It keeps getting worse, okay? So we go straight from what we do to then we're asking you to do something, right? So this looks like, this is where people get this confused. This looks like we're doing something for you, right? We're giving you a free digital audit. And this is how companies think about it. How nice of us to do something for you. But in reality, what this is, it's you're asking your consumer to do something for you, right? Because we're asking you to sign up. That is an ask. That's a sales pitch, right? So when we get from what we do and then this thing that seems like it's us being generous, and it is, but the reality is for us to be generous, we need you to go do something first. And we've built no trust on this site yet. So we've pretty much shown you a video. We've told you what you can buy from us. And then we've said, go fill out this form, right? And then we decided that a good idea would be to do that again, right? So this form doesn't work for you. Cool, fill out this form instead. And so for a homepage, if I'm rating this homepage on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm giving this one probably a 2 if I'm being generous, and that's if I don't want to hurt these guys' feelings. So there's a lot of work to be done here on the homepage. But what I want you guys to realize is on your homepage, you need to be thinking about what is your brand? Does your homepage convey that before you try to sell something, right? And whatever, the one thing I will say we did here is our primary objective was to get a conversation. Both of these two things, the free digital audit and this form, both could lead to a conversation. So the primary objective, there is a means to do that on the homepage, but the story we told leading up to that was very poorly executed, right? So the reason I guess I would give it a 2 is probably because there is the means to achieve the primary objective right on the homepage. So guys, on your homepage, ask yourself this question. Does your homepage convey your brand? If I just look at your homepage and nothing else, do I know who you are and what you stand for, right? You can additionally tell me what you sell if you like. I don't have a problem with that on the homepage, but if you only tell me what you sell and you don't tell me who you are and what you stand for, the likelihood of me buying goes down dramatically, okay? So again, I don't think that this homepage is very well laid out. There's a lot of brand work that needs to be done on this page. Sean, do you have anything to add on the homepage?
Nothing kind of new. Lois. Okay. Lois had a nice comment. She was like, I think when you were talking kind of about the what we do section, just like there's nothing there that she's like, I can't tell anything about you there.
Yes.
And so I think that's really kind of something we've even wrestled with prior to this, which is like, is this really communicating us? And not really, but
yeah,
here we are.
And what I'm interested in, and something that's really hard for us to do, and I think it's really hard for a lot of companies to do, is when you're living this stuff every day, the language that Sean and I speak compared to the language of the consumer is dramatically different, right? And so a lot of times when you're writing website copy, when you're writing the text that goes on your website, you're writing it in the language that you speak. And the longer you do your business, the more you tend to write in the language that you speak, not in the language of the consumer. And so one of the things for us that we're always curious about is like, does the general consumer even know what it means when we say marketing strategy? Does the general consumer know what it means when we say development versus website development? Does the general consumer know what it means when we say digital marketing or marketing? And so that's something that we push other companies to do, is like really figure out the language of the consumer, not the language of the business, because those are often two completely separate things. Now, sometimes they're the same, but often they're different. So thank you for that input, Lois.
Well, and when I come to a session like this, I'm notoriously like, I don't take the time to stop and read.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I see this and I'm like, strategy, development, and marketing. Oh, great. They know industry buzzwords. And I'm not reading underneath it to hear how they define it. And so if you can't do a better job of kind of capturing something a little bit more compelling, a little bit different, I'm probably tuning out to it. Yeah. And I think, I don't know how true that is, like kind of across the board, but I think less and less people are willing to read on websites.
Yeah, and when it starts to look, you lose your brand when your website starts to look like everyone else's website. Like I could probably in the next 10 minutes find 30 marketing companies whose websites have these three categories of what they do. So there's, we talk a lot about, especially with brand, not being better, but being different. And nothing about this portion of the homepage makes us different, right? This makes us look, it does the exact opposite. It makes us look like every other marketing company out there. That is not a good strategy for any business, especially not in crowded markets like the marketing space. Making your business look like every other business is not a good strategy.
Yeah. So Wendy kind of asked a question. I don't think she's looking for an answer, but it reiterates the point a little bit. Is how do you balance clarity and thoroughness with short attention spans and the need for brevity without being cliche? That's really the big tension, and really with any communication on a website.
Yeah, and I think this is where, that's a great question, and I don't know if Wendy wanted an answer, but I'm going to give my perspective on it because I think this is important. We tend to want to build websites, and I'm saying generally, people want to build websites where everything you could possibly know about us is on that website. Hence these long paragraphs. But that's not really the intention. Remember, what did we say the primary objective of our website is? It's to get a conversation. I don't need to tell you everything about what we do to get a conversation. Think about this in real life, right? Like if I want to have a conversation with you, like actually have a dialogue with you, the way I don't do that is to walk up to you and tell you my entire life story beginning to end, right? Yeah. That's not a good way. Yeah. The way is to show interest in what you're interested in and pose questions, right? Do we do any of that here? No, right? It works online just like it does in real life. You can explain very briefly what you do, very briefly, and provide intrigue through asking questions, right? And so when we're asked questions, by nature, we want to respond to that. That's the beginning of a conversation, right? And so I think in terms of explaining everything that you do, I don't think this is the place to do that. That's where people dive in, and over time, they will know everything that you do. But we made the same mistake that we see a lot of other people making, where we try to explain everything that we do right on our homepage. This is everything that Ghost Creative does outside of brand, because we didn't do a good job of that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to dig into a couple more of these, and I'll show you some other things not to do. I'm going to go to the services page. So one of the things that you'll see here is we took from the homepage those three pieces of things that we do. So strategy, development, we took those and we moved them to another page so that we can have more detail, except we didn't even keep the titles the same, right? So when you go from the homepage that said strategy, and now you look at our services, you see digital strategy, and then you see design and development, and then you see digital marketing, right? So there's no cohesiveness from what should have been the very short blurb on the homepage to the details on the services page. And guys, this is the thing that's very easy to do, and it really gets hashed out again, if you try to follow the consumer path on your website.
Yeah.
So for example, what I mean by consumer path on the website is if I land on this site, okay, and I scroll down here and I say, you know what, I am interested in marketing and I want to learn more about that. First of all, there's no way for me to get directly there. So there's no learn more button here. But let's say I'm really interested and I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to say, okay, let me look at their services. And now I'm looking for marketing, right? And I see digital marketing. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want digital marketing. I wanted marketing. Where is that? And it's not here, right? And so again, that cohesiveness, you can figure out how cohesive your website is beginning to end by following the consumer path. And it's just a tedious process where you say, somebody landed on my site, let me get inside their head and figure out what they might be thinking and what they might be doing on my site. Why did they land here? What would they be trying to achieve versus what do I want them to achieve? And how do I lead them down that path? If we would have done this well, we would see immediately, well, one, when we show our services on the homepage, there's no good way for them to dive in deeper because there's no button linking to this page. And then two, if they do land on this page, there's no cohesiveness between what we put out, what we had on the homepage and what we have once you land on the services page. So the cohesiveness is a really big deal. I mean, if you truly think of it like a path, you don't want to have breaks in the path, right? If I'm walking on a path, I want the path to be consistent, beginning to end. I don't want there to be a break where I have to figure out, oh no, where is the next part of the path, right? And that's what we did here. And we see, again, we see this a lot. And the solution is really to just go through the website with a fine-tooth comb, thinking through the lens of the consumer, not of the business. Because I know the link between marketing to digital marketing. I can make that jump. I know the link between strategy and digital strategy. I can make that jump, but the consumer might not be able to do that. The other thing is we have this case studies. I debated on whether I was even going to get rid of this tab, Sean, but I'm going to do it. So first of all, when you're talking, I'm going to give you an example of creative that doesn't enhance the trust in a brand. Okay. So we did work for Ye Olde Sweet Shop. And I will say one of the struggles with doing digital work and handing it over to a client is, and this is not picking on Ye Olde Sweet Shop by any means. I love that business. I think it's fantastic. One of the things that we run into all the time is we build a site and we design it and we implement everything. And then we hand it over to the customer and then they change the site. And sometimes that's good for us and sometimes that's not good for us. And so it's a thing that's tough when we're talking about case studies is, oh man, if we just link to the existing site 2 years from now, that site can be completely different. And in fact, it could be built by another developer at that point. And you go there and we're either taking credit for something we didn't do or getting blamed for something that we didn't do, right? But outside of that, I will say that this image is horrible, right? Like you can't even read the name of the business because it's cut off. And so this is an example of design, the creative actually hurting the trust, not building more trust, right? So if you look at this picture from Fev Chocolates, it's a little bit better, right? Like this is clean. You can see it's a screenshot from one of their pages. You can see the text there. So that one's okay, but set next to this one where the text is cut off, really, really bad design. The other problem is, and you see this all the time, we have case studies and we say more case studies coming soon. Well, if you've been to our website, you'll realize that this has said more case studies coming soon since like January and maybe February. I don't know what your definition of soon is, but when I hear more case studies coming soon, I don't think that that means months down the road, right? And so if you're going to put something on your website is coming soon, you better have a plan to actually deliver it so it comes soon, because if not, again, it breaks trust, right? If I went to your website 3 months ago and I come back now and I still see coming soon, it's a really, really bad idea. The other reason is I have no idea why we launched this with only 2 case studies. We have plenty of other businesses that we've done work for where we need to put case studies together and we have all the information to do it, but we decided to launch this page with 2 case studies. That's a bad idea. Put in the work up front. Put enough content on the page so that there's actually something to consume for the consumer and then launch. It's okay if it takes longer to launch, but when you launch, make sure that the information is there. This shopping cart, I will explain why it's there. And again, this is for the benefit of you guys if you're building a site and just something to be aware of. For a while, we were selling in-person workshops where you could come to a workshop and you could sit down and we would walk you through all of this stuff in person. So it was like a do it together workshop where you come and you build your website and we help you through it in real time during a day, and you leave there with a new website. The problem is we took those down once the pandemic started, but we didn't take down the shopping cart out of our menu. So now you have nothing on our website to buy, but you still have a shopping cart there that is empty. So again, just us not tracing the consumer path the whole way through and looking at our website through the lens of the consumer and asking, oh, why is there a shopping cart there? Because we've seen it so much that we understand why it's there, that we didn't go back and clarify that with the consumer. So, Sean, any other input overall on the website?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing to do is break out. Like when you're in a business or when you're in an industry for so long, it's hard to break out of the bubble. And so really trying to focus on someone who is completely unfamiliar with what you're talking about is the best way to kind of evaluate things like a website. And so does this make sense from the consumer side? Does this make sense from, the customer client side? It is really the best way to go about it. It's the only way, because again, just little things like using industry buzzwords, inconsistencies, those can be really detrimental to your brand. I mean, obviously, look at our site, but I think really the only way to go about doing that is to think through, or have someone who doesn't know you very well kind of give honest feedback about what they're seeing, and really help you kind of break out of that bubble that you tend to live in every day.
Yeah, and I see Missy's comment. She said, when researching companies, I look most of the case studies on the sites. And Missy and I actually had a conversation about our site. She was asking questions about it, as she should have. And, again, I know that we put the case studies there because we know people look at them, and we did a really bad job of following through on it, right? So this is where there's a huge, huge, huge chasm between idea and execution, right? So like some of these ideas on this website, they're good ideas and they're placed there for a good reason, but the execution of them fell short, and that lack of execution leads to lack of brand trust, right? And for a lot of people in today's world, the website is one of the true first deep looks into your business, right? So I might hear about you on Facebook, but that's just a brief glance at it, right? I might see a YouTube video and that's a brief glance, but when people land on your website, that could be the very first time that a consumer is going to take a deep look at your brand. Yeah. And so every single thing on your website must be deliberate, right? Because it could be they land on your website and now they say, nope, I've formed a full opinion of this company. You might not ever get them back. They might never look at any of your Facebook stuff again because they looked at your website, and now the book that was supposed to tell the true story of who you are, the book is not well written, and now I'm not interested anymore. So we could go on for hours about, there's tons of other details about website design that we look at and think about. But I really wanted to give you guys a really brief look at looking at your web. How do you look at your website? How do you evaluate it and say, yes, this is good. I don't have to spend more time on it, because it's a piece of creative. You could spend every single day improving your website, every single day. Better pictures, better text, reevaluating it. And that's not productive either. So the question is, what is your brand? Does the website convey that brand well? And then what is the primary objective for a consumer that lands on that site? And what action do you want them to take? And does your website make it probable that they're going to do that? There's one small detail there that I want to talk about is don't design your website for everyone. This is where target markets are so important. Like, what piece of your target market, what segment of your target market is your website built for? It can't be for everyone. It can't be for the person that's been a customer for 30 years and the person that has no idea what you do. You're not going to be able to build it perfectly for both of those. Choose your primary target markets. That's who you want to build that path for. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope this is something you can use as a resource. We're going to put together actually a resource to go out in next week's email that will go out on next Monday. And we'll put some resources in there, kind of outlining this process as a checklist for you guys so that you can look at your own website and evaluate it and answer some questions. I'm going to try to make it like a 10-point checklist. I don't have it finished yet, where you can really like look at it and say like, yes, that's good. I don't have to worry about that. Oh, maybe my website needs a little bit of work here. So that will go out in the email if you sign up for the email at ghostcreative.com/live. But I hope this was helpful for you guys.
Hold, before we go, Misty's asking, how do you figure out what your target market is? Is that something you can help with?
Yes, that's a great question. And there's not a super easy answer to it because it comes through dialogue. Most people don't spend a lot of time figuring out who their target market is. And when we talk about target market, there's always multiple. And so you have a large target market and then you have segments within that. So that's definitely something we help with. And it's really, to be honest with you, we can't do our job well, whether that's marketing, website design, whatever it is in the marketing space, without knowing who your target market is. So we kind of do it as part of the process for any website design or marketing that we do, because again, we can't build a website for your target market if we don't know who that target market is, right? And so yes, it's definitely something we do. We work through that process with all of our clients, regardless of whether we're building a website or doing a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Yep. So anything else? I see another comment from your mom, Sean, that is talking about our About Us page. And I think there's an important point there, including, so she said in the About Us, include a little about you, your experience, and why I should trust you. That is exactly the purpose of an About Us page. And so you hit the nail on the head with the About Us. That's where you can be a little more personal, right? Like you don't want to hear my story on the homepage, but if you click on the About Us page, you almost expect to hear it. And so that idea that like, I'm going to give you things that you can use to trust me, like absolutely, that's what should be on the About Us page. Again, this is where, you know, we just didn't do a good job, right? Like no excuses. We just didn't do a good job of executing on that. We know that, we just didn't do a good job of executing on it.
Well, and what's really kind of funny about this whole thing is we operate in a very, very unique space where we're supposed to be doing the very thing we're selling. Like very, very few people are in an industry where you're like, this is a reflection of also what we're doing for other people. Right. And so it's all the more critical for us to kind of get this right. And what makes this really funny is if you look at any marketing company, they are notorious. Like we are notoriously bad at marketing ourselves.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yeah. Most of the spaces, right? Like what Sean's talking about, like if I'm selling shoes, I'm marketing something that I'm not selling, right? Like the sales part of it is separate from the shoes part of it. But for us, like we're marketing, right? So it's in a unique space. And again, you know, here's again, I went through this because I want you guys to understand the framework to evaluate your own website, because I want everybody that is a website owner to have a better feel for, do I actually need to pay somebody to upgrade this? Or is it good, right? Is it accomplishing what I need it to accomplish? Because I don't want people spending money on stuff when they don't need an upgrade, right? And so the other side of that is, if you're hiring somebody, I want you to understand the framework to evaluate their work, right? I want you to, whether that's us or somebody else, I want you to be able to look at it and say, yeah, I don't think this conveys our brand well, right? Like you should be asking that question. If you're hiring somebody to build your website, I want you to know, like, hey, do you understand our brand? Because if somebody's building your website and they say it's finished and they never ask you the question about what your brand really is, they're not finished. And that, you know, I want you guys to know that. So yeah, I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have questions about web design, about, you know, if you want us to evaluate your website, we'd be more than happy to do that. Just shoot us an email and let us know. Not something we charge for. Like we do website evaluations for free. So if you just want some feedback on it, and we're going to be honest with you, like if your website is fantastic, your website is fantastic, and that's great, and we will tell you that. We don't use website evaluations as a sales pitch. We use website evaluations to help businesses become stronger. That's it, period. And so, yeah, if you want us to look at your site, we'd be more than happy to do that. But again, keep an eye out for the email. If you haven't signed up for the email, I would encourage you to do that, because I really think this resource is something that you can take today, but use it whenever you do a website upgrade, because the time is going to come sooner or later. So guys, I hope all of you are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're taking some time to reflect and really do some inner work. I think everything that's going on here in the world is really a catalyst for us to do some internal work and be better people coming out of all of this. So we're going to help you improve your marketing. I would love for you guys to again, take some time and reflect this week and really take care of yourselves. And we are going to be here again on Friday at 9 a.m. We're going to be talking to the owner of Popluck here in Erie. So that's going to be fun. I'm excited about that one. So guys, again, thank you so much for your time and attention. It means the world to us. And we will see you on Friday. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.